Another little wrinkle which the AP writers love to put on the exam is finding the average value of a function where that function is piecewise defined. So we see with example 3 right here that we have h of x is x plus 4 when x is less than 1, and then 6x squared minus 1 when x is greater than or equal to 1. And we're asked to find the average value over the interval from 0 to 3, and obviously we can see that the change from the top function to the bottom function occurs right in the middle of the interval. So how do we go about doing that? All right, well, the formula is still the same. We're finding the average, and we still have that coefficient out front. We just have to find two integrals, all right? And we know from our integral properties that we can find the integral from 0 to 1, and then find the integral from 1 to 3, and add those two integrals together, and because one picked up where the second one left off, that means that we're finding the entire area from 0 to 3. Okay, so basically what's happening here is we're going to have the 1/3 as our coefficient. And that 1/3, just like the previous problems, that's not going to be touched until the very end. Find the two integrals and combine them, then take 1/3 of the answer. Right? So we have 1/3, and then we're going to have, in parentheses, the integral from 0 to 1, because we're starting at 0, and our cutoff is 1, and our function is x plus 4. Dx, and then we're going to add to that. Now we're going to pick up where we left off, which is 1. All right, we're going to go all the way to 3, and this time our function is 6x squared minus 1 dx. All right, and again we're taking 1/3 of the whole thing. So don't put 1 over 1 here and then 1 over 2 there, because the difference between 1 and 3 is 2. No, don't do that. To find the average value, add up all the terms and then divide. In order to add up all the terms, we have to do each mini integral separately. Okay, so let's hammer through that real quick. X becomes x squared over 2, 4 becomes 4x. All right, and that's being evaluated from 0 to 1. And then 6x squared is going to become 6x cubed over 3, or 2x cubed. All right, we're used to our antiderivatives at this point. 1 antiderives to x, 1x, you don't have to write the 1. And again, that's being evaluated from 1 to 3. And we have the 1/3 well out front. Going to kind of just keep it there. All right. And then there's our 1/3 again. When we plug in 1 here, we have a half plus 4. When we plug in 0, we get 0. So that's going to be minus 0, even though we don't really need to write that minus 0. Over here, when we plug in 3, 3 cubed is 27. 27 times 2 is 54. 54 minus 3 is 51. When we plug in 1, we get 2 minus 1, or just 1. Okay. And again, we're taking 1/3 of the whole thing. All right. So 1/3, and then we have 4.5. And over here we have 50. All right, so that's 54.5. All right. So we have 1/3 of 54 and 1/2. And again, that answer is completely fine. If you want to turn this into an improper fraction, then multiply the denominator by 3 to combine the fractions, that's totally fine. But ultimately, wanted you to see that that 1/3, that's always out front, because we're looking for the average value, and b minus a is 3. And at the very end, we just slide it right into the answer.